Good morning. I see you still have a little bit of confusion on how to do consecutive even or consecutive integers and then consecutive even or odd integers. So let's do this one in lesson 77, 78 together. This is to find three consecutive even integers. We stop right there. Three consecutive even integers. We set up our three consecutive even integer equations before we do anything else. So that we have a first one, we have a second one, and we have a third one. All right, we have three of them. The first one is going to be n. The second one is going to be n plus 2. Because it's an even integer, we're skipping steps on the number line. Like, remember the number line? We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if we keep going, we'd have 6, right? So let's say our first integer would have been n was 2. The next even integer, we would have to have skipped 1, 2 to get to 4. So it's n plus 2, because that's how many skips we had to take. Remember when we did consecutive integers, it was n plus 1 for the next one, and then plus 2 for the third one. Well, when we're doing even integers, we're skipping by 2's. So we skipped 2 to get to the 4. We skipped 2 again to get to the 6. That's the original n plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how we set up our equation, n plus 2, n plus 4. And it's the same thing for odd integers. Because let's say we started with our odd integer beginning was 1, and we needed to have 3 odd integers. Well, guess what? 1, 2 to get to 3. That would be n plus 2, because it's 2 skips. To get to the 5, we'd go 2 more. So n plus 4. N and 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So whether it's odd or even, it doesn't matter except for the fact that instead of going to the next place over, we're skipping one. So we're doing 2 jumps. Skip, and then go to the next one. Skip, go to the next one. So we have to remember that for odd or even, it's n plus 2, n plus 4. It's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, however many integers you're talking about. Right? So that's how we set up our formula. We do that first. Now we worry about the equation, such that tells us what follows is the equation. The sum of the first and third. The sum of the first and third. So we add the first and the third together. Here's the first one. Here's the third one. We're adding them together. N plus 4. The sum of the first and third equals the sum well, that should have been of, we realize that. Miss Tracy can't always type the best. Equals the sum of the second and negative 14. So the sum of the second, that's n plus 2, and negative 14. So we're adding those together right there. That's your equation. Okay? That's what you're talking about. That's how we are doing it. We are creating our equations first so that we can drop them in. We're just substituting them in for where it says the first, whatever the first is, we drop it in. And the third, whatever the third is, we drop it in. And then the second, whatever the second is, we drop it in. So it's important to do this part first, then look at your equation and write it out. And write it out exactly the way this says. So if it makes you feel better, you could say n plus 4, right? So it's a separate entity. And then you could put the second in here, n plus 2 minus 14. It's the same thing. It's just the way you're looking at it. It helps you to visualize a little bit better. But ultimately, it's this up here. So you could write it with a parenthesis to make you feel better about making sure you have all your elements to keep them visually separated when you first create your equation. That's perfectly fine. But then when you go to solve it, you're going to drop this because right here you're having a plus 1. Plus 1 doesn't change anything. only a negative sign changes things. So it stays n plus 4. And we don't have anything on the outside of here. So this stays n plus 2 minus 14, right? So it's the same thing we had up here. It's all about visually what you need in order to write the equation. So now we solve it. We have 2n plus 4, and we have n minus 12. Now I think it's probably easier to have a positive variable. So I'm going to subtract n from both sides. And then I'm going to subtract this 4 to bring it over here. So 2n minus 1n is n equals negative 16. So that's my first. My first one is negative 16. Now when I add 2 to negative 16, it's going to be negative 14. And when I add 4 to negative 16, it's going to be negative 12. Those are my 3. So when I put them in here, negative 16, negative 14, negative 12. When I check it, those are right. Okay? Consecutive means one after the other on the number line, as it's on the number line. So we know on the number line, negative 16, negative 15, negative 14, negative 13, negative 12. It's in this order from left to right. It's a little bit tricky when you get on the negative side and you have to do your numbers backwards. Trust your equations that you set up. Drop in the negative 16 where there's the n. Whatever this number is, drop it in and do the math. Okay? I know our tendency is to go negative 16, negative 17, negative 18, or whatever. Trust your equations. They got you here. Trust them to get you here as well. All right, we're going to do the next one, just for the sake of practice and understanding. If I can get to I think you got all the rest of those correct. I think that the only one you got wrong was the consecutive integers. And I don't see another one in here, so I'm going to click done and double check. Where are you? Yeah, that was the one. You had 18 and 12 for some reason. Not sure what that was. All the rest of them that I see you turned in, you got right. So that was the only one that I was addressing. All right, sweetheart. Have a good rest of the week. Happy Valentine's Day. And if you have any other questions about this, please let me know.